Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's currently sitting at a 92 overall Metacritic, which means by that definition, most people enjoyed this game. But that doesn't mean everybody does. So welcome back to a series that I call Bad Reviews for Good Games, and today we're taking a look at what the haters have to say about FF7 Rebirth. So our first negative review comes from Rondar, who gives FF7 Rebirth a 3 out of 10. They go on to say, this game is absolute ass. 4 long years I waited for Rebirth, and all I got was a game filled with dozens of unbelievable crappy mini-games with an occasional hour or two of Marvel Multiverse nonsense. Which is crazy because the Marvel Multiverse nonsense wasn't an issue in the first remake. It's only an issue because you don't like the mini-games. But let's go on and read this. I have never hated a game as much as I hate Rebirth. Really? You haven't played a lot of games, because I can name a lot of really bad games, way worse than Rebirth. And I would give anything to be able to return and get my money back. Oh, sure, you don't have to do them. Some of the mini games, that's what people would say, but then you don't get the weapons and the weapon abilities or material locked behind them. He's basically saying he's upset. The best weapons and items are locked behind these mini games. So you really don't have much of a choice but playing the damn things. How Squeen, is he trying to say like Squeenix? What are you saying? Square Enix? He's trying to be like, are you trying to like make a play on Square Enix, but like they're squeezing dollars out of you? Squeenix? The fuck is this? Like, I feel like it was a really bad joke. Could have possibly screwed up so bad. It's confusing to me. And how it got rave reviews from so many called, I can't talk this. I'm only doing one take. I don't know how this got rave reviews from so many critics. This game is shit, and the only thing that could have saved it is a mercy system that allowed you to eventually pass the mini games after you realize so many times you thrown the controller through the wall. F Rebirth and F Square Enix. Oh, you know what? He spelled, no, never mind. He did. I think that's what he was trying to square. I don't know what the fuck he's trying to do. Anyway, let's address what he's talking about. I recently dropped Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I do like the game, can't stress enough, I do like the game. But I'm kinda with him on the mini games. I don't like the fucking mini games. Not all of them. I've only played like 3, and there was one that was okay, but like 2 of them are just kind of like, eh. Specifically, the one that turned me off the most was like right off rip was, and it's a side one, is Fort Condor. So then like it kind of made me drop the game, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a step back, because I was like, I think I was kind of tired that day when I first started playing Fort Condor. I was like, I don't want to play this shit. I just want to go on an adventure and beat shit up, right, and get a good story. That's kind of what the first remake was. What changed my perspective is, I was talking about this on stream about my lack of love for the mini games in Rebirth, and a lot of people who are super fans of Final Fantasy VII told me, because keep in mind, for those who are new to my channel, I didn't grow up with a PlayStation. I was a Nintendo kid. My family was poor. We couldn't have both platforms, so it was always Nintendo. I went from Nintendo to Super Nintendo to N64. So I didn't have the original PlayStation. I only got to play 7 like briefly at a friend's house for like 30 minutes, like an hour or something like that. So like the remake was my first true introduction into Final Fantasy VII, and I love the original remake. So like when I was talking about my lack of love for the mini games in Rebirth, a lot of people in the Twitch chat were telling me, which by the way, follow me, twitch.tv/Black Hokage, link in the description box below. They were telling me that this is accurate to the original Final Fantasy, the mini games, and a lot of the people in my chat were saying they like the mini games. So for like kind of change my perspective on things, to kind of counter what he's saying, he's like, I don't know how these so-called critics got to give this a rave game. It's because a lot of those critics were big fans of the original Final Fantasy, so they look at those mini games as paying homage to the original game, and that kind of changed my perspective on things. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, you know what? I was like, I respect that. I understand where y'all coming from. That doesn't change the fact that I don't like the mini games. I just like the adventure, the action, and the story. Even the open world like doesn't bother me, because like I feel like there's enough in it to where like I want to explore. I will say I also don't agree with the 3 out of 10. I do agree with him that I don't like the mini games, but I don't hate them as much as him. Like to me, like based off what I played so far, this might piss some people off. I don't love it as much as like some of like the Final Fantasy fanboys, but like I would say Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is still like, it's like a solid 8 to me. Despite me not liking the mini games, it still feels like a solid 8 to me. I don't know where he got this 3 from. The mini games aren't that damn bad. They're more like kind of like a nuisance. So like, and you don't have to play them all. So it is what it is. Respectfully, I disagree with the review. So we scroll a little bit down, and our next review comes from Dexter, who gave Rebirth a 2 out of 10. He goes on to say, I pre-ordered this game for the story and the JRPG gameplay / challenging battles. Same. Not the overwhelming number of mini games. Got another mini game complainer. All of which are required to to get the platinum trophy, which I think that's like kind of his bigger issue with it. It's like he doesn't enjoy the mini games. He's more so upset that he has to do them to get the platinum trophy. We got a trophy hunter here, and to those people I always say like, come on, I don't get it. It's a digital trophy, but whatever, teach us on. It's already exhausting in remake, but this one is cranked up to 11 in terms of the mini games. If the same thing happens for the final part, instead of a purchase, YouTube it is. And you know what? I respect this review. Let me this specific line right here. Basically, in the final part for part 3, if they do it again where there's just mini games out the ass, he said, I'm not buying it. I'm gonna just watch it on YouTube. I respect the honesty because I'm not gonna lie, it might be the same. Now let me stop. Let me stop. Yeah, I'm not mad at this. I still don't agree with the 2. I feel like the quality is there. I feel like Rebirth crashes that threshold where you can't give it anything less than like a 5 or a 6. I don't understand the 2, but you're allowed to dislike the game, whatever. Scroll down, so Samson gave Rebirth a 0 out of 10. He goes on to say, Rebirth is filled with endless and empty mini games. Besides that, the combat is pretty much the same as Final Fantasy Remake, which is a superior game. This is painful to finish. Once again, you're allowed to dislike the mini games. I'm not a big fan of them. Where I kind of draw the line is I don't understand where the 0 comes from, because even with the combat, it's not exactly the same. There are new like team mechanics, team combat mechanics. Also, the skill tree is bigger than ever. And then also, I gotta give some pushback too with the whole, it's the same as the last game with the combat. That's not 100% true, but even if it is similar, I feel like people forget, and this is why it's not a fair criticism. This is basically Disc 2. It's not like supposed to be like Assassin's Creed 1 to 2. It's essentially the same game and you're playing part 2 from the same game. And yeah, it changed a little bit, but it's not gonna be that much different. Like I'd imagine the third part is gonna be even less innovative than this middle section. I feel like it's probably gonna, maybe they add a couple new combat mechanics, but like at a certain point, you're just playing for the story and seeing the things that they changed with the timeline. But complaining about the combat being similar, if you played the original Final Fantasy VII and you popped in Disc 2 or 3, I doubt you complain that the combat was the same. I think you gotta change your perspective and understand this is not supposed to be a new game. This is a continuation of a story that's already in place. So like, I don't understand where the 0 comes from. I don't agree. And our next review comes from Kesh Mariga, who gave Rebirth a 2 out of 10. They go on to say, so much unnecessary padding with the new forced mini games, repetitive exploration, and the party being split up, artificially forcing you to move around all your materia one by one. And that's the main thing that I wanted to touch on. That is one thing that there's because I haven't beaten the game, but there's a section early on where Red and the dog or cat, what is he, a dog or a cat? Let me know in the comment section. Where Red and Barrett get split up from the rest of the team in this cave. You're like going to it's a cave on the way to like the second area in Rebirth, and then you have to take on this boss, and the boss fight was absolutely infuriating because it was a super armored, bullet spongy boss. And then like I didn't have the proper materia. Like, so what he's talking about right there, like having to move your shit one by one, you're not even expecting these splits. Fucking annoying. Still wouldn't give the game 2 out of 10, but I understand the frustrations that he brought up in this review, and you're entitled to your opinion, not me. So LDT1 gave Rebirth a 3 out of 10, and they go on to say, what should be an easy 10 out of 10 is completely destroyed by tedious bloat, a ridiculous amount of minigames with a stupid difficulty curve for something that's meant to be fun extras. No way they play tested these minigames. A fake open world with maps that are not fun to explore, that are all just frustrating mazes, blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to highlight this part. I know we're kind of beating a dead horse with this minigame shit, but he brought up a really good point that I don't think that anybody else has brought up so far. What's also really annoying is not only is it just a lot of minigames in Rebirth, but they're hard, and it's supposed to be fun side. There's no way you can tell me, I don't care if minigames were a part of the original Final Fantasy VII. It was a side thing. There's no way you can tell me people bought this game not for the story with what is Sephiroth gonna do? What kind of powers is Tifa and Cloud in the game gonna get? Like, no, we didn't buy it for that. We bought it to play Fort Condor. Like, yeah, that is, I think that's the part that throws me off. Like, why are these mini games so, and like, so not only do I have to play mini games that I don't want to play, but now you want me to sit up in my chair and try hard? It might take a little bit longer to beat this game than I thought, because I'm just not enjoying this. And I think that's what inspired this whole novel long rant and him giving it a 3 out of 10. Still don't agree with the 3, but like, I thought that was a very valid point that he brought up. I was like, why are these mini games so hard? This shit is supposed to be, they're mini games. That's why Mario Party's fun. It's not because it's hard. It's just you being silly with friends and being competitive. Like, Jesus Christ. And our next review comes from Kodbu, who gave Rebirth a 4 out of 10. They go on to say, overall, a pretty poorly made game. It's button mashy, overly frenetic combat, awkward open world navigating, just jumping up and down obstacles looking like a high schooler animated it. I don't know about that. Pretty cringy dialogue in a lot of spots. Majority of your gameplay is spent in rhythm mini games that appear to be intentionally designed to frustrate the player. Just an absolute shotgun blast of an annoying button timing and awkward hand dexterity movements. I've seen some people online defending the mini games, and it blows my mind that people like this gonna exist. I don't know how we've fallen so far as a species. People's love for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is how you like defy the downfall of society. I could give you way better example. Okay, buddy. Unless you're very they play Final Fantasy games with a brand name, you should probably skip this one. I would certainly rank this among the lesser titles, but I want to highlight this one. Pretty cringy dialogue in a lot of spots. I mean, the last one was kind of cringy too. So I mean, what did you expect? I don't know. That's kind of like the charm of it. It's kind of self-aware. But this is the main one. Button mashing combat. I don't think you played the game, because Final Fantasy VII, the remake or Rebirth, is not a button masher. If anything, I'd argue you'll get fucked up button mashing, because there's definitely some difficulty spikes when you run into some bosses or like enemies in the other areas. Once you get outside of the first initial area, some of the higher level enemies, it's actually the opposite. There's a flow to combat where you gotta like maybe double tap square, stop, hold block, or if you're good enough, use the parry. I do think the parry in the game is kind of janky, but like it's not a button masher. If you're button mashing, that's probably why you're getting their ass kicked. You're complaining about the difficulty and shit, but everything else, I guess, is okay. I don't know. I don't think we're playing the same game. I don't know. And our next review comes from Autumn Soldier, who gave Rebirth a 1 out of 10. They go on to say, not every game needs to be Breath of the Wild. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. I don't get why I'm playing the same game with the same fetch quests. I'm mad I've wasted my money. I just want to play Final Fantasy without this open world trash. To that I say I don't agree with the 1 out of 10, but I do agree with the sentiment of not every game needs to be Breath of the Wild. Not every Zelda needs to be Breath of the Wild. I mean, I had fatigue when Tears of the Kingdom came out. I mean, besides that and the frame rate dropping, but yeah, I agree. Not everything needs to be open world. The open world in Rebirth, it doesn't bother me. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I'm kind of indifferent to it. So like, I understand why some people don't like it, because it doesn't feel like it adds much, but it's also not awful. That's just my main thing with like open world games. I realize it's not necessarily open world fatigue. It's more so a lot of these open world games seem like they're just making them open to pad the game and add more fetch quests, as he mentioned. So if like you're gonna take the open world route, you need to do something that either innovates or reinvigorates the player through evolution that's of something that's already existed. But I feel like a lot of times, feels like they're taking, a lot of these companies are taking the Ubisoft kind of approach. Once again, I don't personally hate it, but I understand why some people do. So yeah, I don't agree with the 1 though. I don't agree with the 1. Belavante gave Rebirth a 2 out of 10, and he goes on to say, it's a boring Ubisoft open world game with a cringe story and cringe dialogue, but the combat's good though. And to that I say, you know, you're entitled to your opinion. I just don't understand the 2, because you say you don't like the open world and like the cringe dialogue, but you do think the combat is fun. Now, gameplay is the most important thing about a game, and the most important factor in this game, which is the gameplay, which by the way, there is a ton of it in this game. It is an open world game where you get to run around and do whatever you want and fight as much as you like or as little as you like. That's the part that confuses me. What warrants the 10 if you love the gameplay? You would think at least the game would score a 5 for you. That's all I'd be trying to understand. Like, what's the scoring system that some of the people be going by? What's the logic? This man said, I love the game in my video game. I just don't like anything else. 2 out of 10. So to me, I heard a 5. I don't know. That's all. But you're entitled to your opinion. MC0030 gave Rebirth a 1 out of 10, and he goes on to say, performance mode is not acceptable for a game releasing in 2024. This would look fine for a PS3 launch title. I really wish people would stop saying that. I feel like a lot of y'all are really young when like the PS2, look at PS2, look at PS3. I feel like y'all were either weren't born or like really young around that era, because Rebirth does not look like a PS3 game, even in performance mode. Yes, some of the draw distance is like a little bit blurry, but like the face models look fine, which by the way, I see this is from March 6th, so I don't know if he knows, but an update did come out for the game. So they improved the performance mode. They now have a sharper and a softer performance mode. So if you want sharper visuals with performance, it's in there. It's patched into the game. Hopefully this guy is aware of this and tries it out, because he rated he didn't say nothing about the game. He just said performance mode is blurry, 1 out of 10. Did you like the game or not? Also, like I said, this is an unpopular opinion. If you want the best performance with the best graphics, build a PC. Otherwise, you really can't complain too much. I think, yo, it's so fascinating to me because I've been a content creator for so long. Right around the end of the PS3, going into the PS4 era, I remember that's around the time, the GI podcast was new, youtube.com/GI podcast. That was around the time that a lot of PS4 gamers said that the human eye can't even see 30 frames per second. I mean, my bad. The human eye can't see more than 30 frames per second. The human eye can't see 60 FPS. Y'all remember that was a thing? That was a thing on the internet. Go look it up, articles. Oh, PC gamers need to shut the fuck up. The human eye can't see more than 30 frames. Who cares? Console. It's very interesting. It's very interesting that we've reached the point where now the console gamers are saying, oh, this shit's trash. PS3 game, not acceptable to run on my PS5. The game, okay, before this update with the sharp mode, I've been playing performance mode. It looked fine to me. It was running fine. And at the end of the day, as long as the game is running buttery smooth, because I'm playing the game for the gameplay, that's what matters, especially in a combat game like this where it requires quick reflexes. Once again, if you want the best graphics and performance, build a PC. As long as you're on consoles, beggars cannot be choosers. You gotta kind of take what you can get. I would say just be happy that performance mode is starting to become a standard on consoles, because let's not forget, just last generation on the Xbox One and the PS4, that wasn't even a thing. The human eye can't think about it. Potato Man gives Rebirth a 0 out of 10, and the reason being is he said Queen's Blood is terrible. Why do I have to play a card game to play an action game? Another person complaining about mini games. I just found it funny though that we're gonna kind of wrap this one up, because as I go through these reviews, it's mainly just like, oh, mini games, I hate mini games, I hate mini. It's kind of like the same kind of talking points. I wanted to highlight this one because I find it interesting. This man rated it a 0 out of 10, not because he hates the mini games, but specifically he does not like playing Queen's Blood. Probably a Yu-Gi-Oh guy, which I respect, you know, shout out to my Yu-Gi-Oh players out there. But I just thought it was very interesting that he's like, I guess he likes catching the Moogles in the playpen. That shit, yo, and that shit, the first time you had to do that, it threw me off. I was like, why do I have to catch these little teddy bears and put them in a playpen? What the fuck does this have to do with Sephiroth, bro? But apparently he's cool with being a daycare leader. Just doesn't want to play Queen's Blood, which I don't like Queen's Blood either, but you know, he just 0 out of 10. When did you get the 0, bro? This man really hates card games. This is the guy at the family reunion. This is the one guy at the barbecue, the black family reunion, that doesn't know how to play spades and shit. Oh man, I'm about to play fucking cards, man. I'm about to play some Uno. I don't know what to do, man. I'm nervous. And there you have it. That's what some of the haters had to say about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If you want to hear what I have to say, my own personal opinion, go ahead and click the card on the screen right there. That'll take you to my first impressions video of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I've got some interesting thoughts. I think you're going to want to hear them. So click the card on the screen, because Lord knows I need to watch time. I need that watch time. That shit sounds like an 80s song. Click the fucking card, bitch.